I've read over 100 self-help books, and if I could only read 3, here are the 3 that I'd recommend. I guarantee you the first 2, every CEO alive has read, and the final one is my personal favorite, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This is Financial Literacy 101. Robert Kiyosaki tells the story of his rich dad and his poor dad. His poor dad is the in the matrix, 9-to-5 grind, can't catch a break, terrible at manage money, poor dad. And his rich dad is the top G, entrepreneur, cracking deals, escape the matrix rich dad. And he teaches you good financial habits through these 2 characters. This book absolutely changed my perspective on money and taught me that having money, that being financially free is for me. I've read this book 3 times, and each time I get a new lesson. The first time round was learn how to sell. It is one of the most powerful skills you can learn. You've got a product that you want to sell to a customer. You're an interviewee trying to convince the hiring manager to give you a job. You're messaging someone on Instagram in their DMs, a girl, to try and convince them to go on a date with you. Everything is for sale. Not only that, most CEOs either come through sales or finance. The next lesson I learned was once you've learned how to sell, you've got some good commission, you need to learn how to invest. Opportunities are everywhere in the stock market, in oil, in gold, in commodities, but most importantly in real estate. Time and time again, real estate and property is where you're going to get your best return on investment. And reading this recently, one of the principles that I've learned is how to be tax efficient with your money so I can actually keep it. At every single opportunity, the man, the government, wants to bend you over and have his way with you. The way he does that is by stealing your money through tax. So if you can set up a business and being clever with your expenses, you actually get to keep the money that you earn, and I think rightly so. You might think Robert Kiyosaki is a little bit of an old head. He likes gold, he likes oil, he likes stocks, he likes real estate, and he kind of likes pushy sales tactics, but the principles are as true today as they was when he wrote this book. There is not a CEO alive who hasn't read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie is the original finance guru. He was giving business seminars in the 1920s. He's the Tony Robbins of the 1920s and the 20th century. Some financial books teach you almost win-lose scenarios. There's winners and there's losers. There's top G's and there's 9-to-5 in the matrix losers. This book teaches you to win-win and think of every scenario as a win-win scenario. Not only would I recommend like business executives and CEOs read this book, I think if you are a human who lives on planet Earth, you should read this book. This is going to benefit your relationships across the board. One of the big lessons I learned from this book is that you can win a friend or you can win an argument. You can never do both. No matter if you've outwitted and outsmarted and outdebated yourself in that debate and technically won, that person has walked away thinking that dude is an asshole and I never want to speak to him again, and you've lost a friend. Now, I would warn you that if you do deploy the tactics in this book, you'll have a lot of people who like you and maybe like the fake version of you. But like we all know, relationships are so important, and if you want to unlock their potential and get the most out of each relationship, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie is a must read. There were many contenders for the top 3 spot. 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferris, Working Smart opposed to Working Hard, Atomic Habits, the power of daily habits that compound over time, Unshakeable by Tony Robbins. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is more of a mindset and the principles, whereas Unshakeable by Tony Robbins gives you the actionable steps you can take to invest and where the opportunities are and what to do to actually become financially free. One of my all-time favorite books, I had to put this in the top 3 spot. It's the book I would recommend if you really want to change your life as a man, The Way of the Superior Man. And contrary to what the title might suggest, it's not about spitting, smoking, punching, going to the gym, taking steroids, mansplaining to people. Think of masculinity as Aragorn, Peter Parker, Henry Cavill, Tony Stark, peak masculinity. This is teaching you how to be the best man possible. Now, I think even women can get a lot from this book. Some of the principles are just good principles that people in general should live by. Now, all of these books are really easy to read. I could have recommended like an encyclopedia self-help book, but no book is as simple to read as this one. It's 50 rules. They're about 2 or 3 pages long maximum. You can literally read 1 rule a night for 50 days and you've read this whole book. Let me read you one of the rules that has stuck with me from the second I read it. Rule number 3, live as if your father were dead. A man must love his father and yet be free of his father's expectations and the criticisms in order to be a free man. Imagine that your father has died, or remember when he did die. Are there any feelings of relief associated with his death? Now that he is dead, is any part of you happy that you need not live up to his expectations or suffer his criticism? How would you have lived your life differently if you have never tried to please your father, if you've never tried to show your father that you were worthy, if you've never felt burdened by your father's critical eye? Now, the end of the book does get a little bit goofy and a bit fruity and a little bit sexual. Rule number 46, ejaculate up the spine. But as I've got older, I've actually realized that there is a lot of truth in these sexual rules. And as I've got more into relationships, they can be deployed and they are very useful. Now, if Rich Dad Poor Dad improves your finances, How to Win Friends improves your relationship, this improves your relationship with yourself. If you're a massive nerd like me and you like reading books, then subscribe to the channel. Let me know you enjoyed this in the comments. And if you would like me to make another video, of course, I've got a bajillion other books that I would recommend, out of them 100. Boom. Let's go. Woohoo!